good. Right, well, in that case, let's move on. How do you get the job as head of a spaceport? You should have asked that while Nathan was in here, really, because that is quite a niche title, to be fair, isn't it? If you're thinking along the lines of astronaut experience or rocket science, that's not necessarily the case. As part of our career ladder feature today, we're going to be hearing one woman's journey of how she's become head of Spaceport Cornwall. We are pleased to welcome Melissa Thorpe to the programme. Hello, Melissa.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Wow, what a title that is, I must say. Flipping X. Where do I even begin with this? Thanks for coming on the show. Being involved, obviously, with space and aviation is a dream job for millions of people, let's be honest. How did it feel to get the role of head of Spaceport Cornwall?
Yeah, well, I've been part of the team since the beginning, so I feel like I've been on the journey this whole time. So I was well primed for it. When the previous director left at the end of last year, I felt like I'd shadowed him enough over the years that I felt ready. I don't actually think it's even sunk in yet. We've been too busy for me to really sit and ponder it too much. But one day in the near future, I'm sure it will hit me and I might have a bit of a freak out about it.
I know what you mean. Sometimes these things are so big and it takes time to sort of your brain to sort of go, oh, sugar, I'm actually doing this. I am this. It sounds absolutely amazing. I've got to ask the obvious. What does the job involve? And is it strict? Excuse me, the question I've got here is a little bit odd. What does the job involve?
Everything. I go from 1 minute lobbying government to get support for space launch in the UK to the next briefing local politicians, to speaking to local schools and school children, to being on live TV like this all across the world, to interviews and meeting with our partners out in California with Virgin Orbit. Yeah, it's everything. Every single day is totally different.
I can only imagine. I mean, we do love to talk, watch a lot about space shuttles and things like that, especially from Tesla and obviously all the SpaceX even. We watch a lot of it here. It's absolutely great. We love to sort of keep track of it. So it's nice to get somebody almost from the inside of everything now that has that kind of view on things. Now, for you, obviously getting that position, what stood out about you that made you the best person for that job?
I think I bring quite a few different elements to the job. My background's quite different. As you said at the beginning, I'm not an astronaut, and I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm actually an economist. And I grew up in a very rural part of Canada, and my passion's all about, bringing new technologies to rural places and utilizing what they already have here as well to kind of marry the two together and create a huge economic opportunity. So that was my background. I love aviation. I absolutely love aerospace. So I'm a bit of a geek on that front. So I think those two elements, and I love a chat, as I'm sure you can tell. So I hope I'm quite good at talking to people, and that's mainly what my job is actually speaking to our stakeholders every single day, answering their questions, concerns, briefing them on things from all levels up to prime ministers to Sir Richard Branson, like I said, to local kids. So I feel like I'm able to kind of not be too technical in that space world and almost decipher space technology to the everyday person on the street. So that's, I think, where my talent is.
I think the only way I could sort of understand that is I used to be a web developer, and trying to explain like how the functions of like things behind the scenes of a website to somebody who wants a website but doesn't understand it, trying to sort of translate the techie stuff to someone who does not sort of up with the lingo of it. It's quite a task. So that's like the only kind of way I can sort of I can understand that. I don't even want to imagine the kind of stuff that you have to decipher through it. It must be absolutely mad. We've actually got a photo of you here on the runway, I believe. There we go.
Yeah, that was last year. We actually had the New York Times come and do a feature on Spaceport Cornwall at Cornwall Airport, Newquay, and that's our main asset there. That tarmac, that runway. That's what we'll launch to space from. So that was me and my baby, that runway. and that's my other baby.
I was going to say, that's good timing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my daughter. We're up in air traffic control at the airport, and she's a funny one. She absolutely loves rockets and space, but at the same time loves everything fairy and unicorn. And she's a great mix of the two worlds. And one of my massive passions is getting more girls excited about STEM and careers in science.
That's fantastic, absolutely. Can the runway at Newquay support any type of aircraft? For example, and what's it been used for over the years?
That's a good question. Again, kind of everything. It can pretty much handle any size of aircraft. We can land everything. It's just handling it after that point. So we have done 747s more recently due to the pandemic. Sadly, the aviation industry is going through some rough times. So we've been parting 747s, which is actually what we're going to be using to launch next year with Virgin Orbit. So that's the most recent, largest that they've handled at the airport recently. But it's such a historic site, way back to the Cold War, and some of the aircraft that came in out of there. And we have an old Spitfire that we're hoping to get up as a gate guard in the near future that used to fly there too.
Flipping heck. I mean, so you say 747 have been there as well?
Yeah, we've had several of them land.
They're quite big boys, aren't they? They're not exactly the smallest of aircraft. Flipping heck.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go any more about the spaceport, can we go back a few years? Obviously, you've got a lovely Canadian accent there. You've mentioned Canada. Where did you grow up? I could take a quick guess. And what's that part of the world like for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in the middle of nowhere, in British Columbia, really tiny town called Williams Lake. So in the interior of British Columbia. And then my dad actually lived up well, he still does live up in the Yukon. So I spent a lot of my summers way up north in the Yukon. And it's pretty much the stereotypical Canadian upbringing I had, skiing, snowshoeing in the winters. And there's me tobogganing when I was probably about 5 years old.
Wow.
So just a massive love of anything outdoors, lots of camping. My mum was a park ranger. So she would take us off in the summertime to help her build nature trails, and we constantly rescuing wildlife in our house. So yeah, pretty much everything you imagine of Canada. That was probably my childhood, getting chased by bears and yeah, the whole shebang.
The whole
Yeah,
being chased by bears is a little bit terrifying, I won't lie.
I think it's part and parcel for living in rural Canada. You learn very quickly in school there, actually, from kindergarten upwards. You learn bear safety, cougar safety, practice it. So we're all pretty much au fait with how to get away from bears, and they're all very different on what you do. So grizzly bear is very different than how you treat a black bear. So it's just,
Wow.
I guess it's the skill set of a Canadian child.
Fair enough. I mean, I must admit, I do see a lot of videos myself on social media of encounters with bears, with cougars, with mountain lions, things like that just aren't normal over here. And it's people that, for example, over in Canada or other countries, that it's the norm. And it just shows people doing some wonderful things like there's no panic. It's just somebody walks out and goes, oh, there's a bear. And I remember one, he just walks out right next to the bear and go, can you go away, please? And the bear just walks off. And I think, what? How is this guy not mauled? But yeah, it's quite an interesting way of life. Could I go to talk about your dad, actually? Because I believe your dad has an important job as a very specific type of firefighter. What did he do?
He's retired now, but
Okay.
he used to fight forest fires from water bombers when I was a kid. So I spent a lot of my time going
Oh,
around
wow.
air bases with him, working that he worked with smoke jumpers and things like that. So I absolutely loved going to work with him. Obviously, that's my brother and I there. But yeah, it was incredible. He was away a lot because forest fires in the summer were, incredibly dangerous and in
Yeah.
very remote parts of Canada. So he'd be gone fighting them. But when he was home, it was quite cool because we'd go up to the base and these big air retardant tankers that they'd fill up with water sometimes and use as hot tubs. And it was quite an entertaining place to go and see as a young girl.
So, did you say they use them as hot tubs, did you say?
Yeah, they let them heat up and jump in them. Yeah.
Now that is an amazing perk of a job, isn't that? That's absolutely.
That's pilots for you. Yeah.
So is that got what got you hooked on aviation? Seeing as that was obviously at a young age.
Definitely. I was like really wanting to be a pilot, but my eyesight was really bad. So yeah, that wasn't really in my future. But it definitely gave me the love of aviation and aerospace. And I think seeing aircraft being used to help nature as well, which is strange, but here I am using an aircraft to launch satellites to space that will do amazing things for this planet. So I've kind of come full circle.
Absolutely brilliant. It's what's a lovely job you've got. I believe we got a photo now of your mum. Wow.
Yeah, it's
I,
Ranger Wendy, as we still call her.
okay.
Yeah, so that's my mum. So she was a park ranger in a bunch of national parks across Canada. And she did things like design and build nature trails. She also did lots of interpretive talks. She specialized actually in cougars. So she'd go into campsites and do talks about cougars. And she's quite an actress. So she would actually dress up as this old man trapper and pretend that he was trapping cougars. And then she would come out and kind of do this double act on her own. So very theatrical ranger.
Absolutely brilliant. So going back to you now, you study a master's in economics in London. One of our previous career ladder guests also studied economics, Alison Hernandez, the re-elected police and crime commissioner. Is that subject area vital for these types of positions?
I mean, it's interesting because I find it really valuable because it gives me a much wider picture about how a project like Spaceport fits into a local economy and what the benefit of that could be and how we could actually extract those benefits so they reach the far corners of Cornwall and the region. So for my job, definitely at the end of the day, this is all about creating jobs and GVA and being an inspirational tool for school children. So I think bringing that kind of background has benefited my role to be able to really push the benefits out as far as possible. This isn't just, a tech company in setting up, doing what it needs to do, going again. This is about embedding it into the local economy, and that's something that I am, 100% pushing.
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. I want to move to something a little bit different now because I believe you've also travelled and volunteered in Vietnam. How did you help ladies in that part of the world?
So yeah, I did my gap year kind of after my undergrad university, so a bit backwards. But I went over to Asia for 6 months, which was a well-worn backpacker trip. But I actually used a bit of my economics background and looked at microfinance, a charity over there at the time, working with women that had crafting businesses and helping them access small amounts of finance so they could grow their business. So I spent a few weeks in northern Vietnam helping some local women do that.
Fantastic. And we've got a photo here. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, my buddies B. Yeah, so that was, I mean, gosh, that was probably about 12 years ago now. Time flies.
Wow, lovely weather. I can't help but appreciate
Today.
the sunny weather when you're surrounded by the current weather we are in. So before your role as head of Spaceport Cornwall, you also worked at the airport in Newquay. What did you do there?
So originally when I left after my master's, I came down and I worked with the airport to help diversify the activities at the airport. So not just passenger services, I was brought in to look at different kind of activities to just create some revenue generating opportunities for the airport because it's subsidized by the council and the taxpayer. So I was working on attracting quite R&D focused companies. So unmanned aerial systems testing, search and rescue training. So the Bristow's contract that's up there now, maintenance, repair and overhaul of aircraft. So just working with businesses to set them up on site and get them using the amazing asset that is Cornwall Airport Newquay.
So really, it wasn't like it was a massive step up. You already have a lot of responsibilities beforehand, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. I've, been down here for almost 11 years now and have just grown through those years with responsibilities and building my skill set really. And really getting engaged with the community. I think that is probably the biggest part of my role is going out and speaking to people and breaking down the barriers of this project and what's going to happen around the airport. So I have a lot of relationships I've built over those years, which are crucial to this job now. So yeah, my experience over the last 11 years has got me to this point now. It hasn't been easy, but it's definitely worth it.
Very cool. That was absolutely brilliant. So we've got a photo here, and I need to ask, who are the people that you're with in this photo?
So that is a group that I'm involved in, and we provide policy recommendations to the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. And this is a kind of young professional group that is based all over the world. Everybody in that picture is from a different country. And this was just before the pandemic, where we got together and we provided some policy recommendations into the UN. So it's a fantastic group that I get to work with.
That's incredible. I mean, advising the UN.
Yeah, on outer space.
Flipping heck. Sorry, I'm just here stood in the studio and thinking about all these things. You're making me a little bit starstruck here, I won't lie. So I'm going to ask, when is Cornwall going to space? How would it happen, and who's involved in such a process?
So we are due to launch for the first time ever early next year, and that's with our partners at Virgin Orbit. So this is a small satellite launch company that's owned by Richard Branson, and they're coming over to launch from Cornwall. And it's a partnership between us, Cornwall Council, Virgin, and Goonhilly Earth Station. So we'll be the first launch location in the UK. And that's really just to enable, there's a huge amount of small satellite manufacturers in the UK, and at the minute they can't launch from here, they all get shipped overseas. So we're providing the first time ever on their doorstep a launch facility. So it's really just to capture that marketplace for the UK, and obviously create an amazing project here in Cornwall that will go on to do bigger and better things in the next few years.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. I believe actually we have got a photo here, something to do with this. Let's have a quick look. Oh, blimey.
Yeah, so that's Virgin Orbit launching for the first time out in California in January. So basically, the aircraft takes off the runway, goes up to about 35,000 feet, drops the rocket. So it's a 70-foot two-stage rocket. And that rocket, fires midair and goes up to low Earth orbit, and where it deploys its satellites. So that was their first successful launch. So that's the exact system that will be coming here. It's not a traditional vertical rocket. It's a horizontal launch, as it's called.
Very cool, very cool. I could, I have a funny feeling there's going to be a lot of coverage from us when this goes off. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a lot of interest from the back office. So, what is the goal of Spaceport Cornwall? What's the 5-year plan? I always hate that question personally.
I'm just gonna mention my dog's about to bark because somebody's just knocked on my door. So sorry for that.
No, you're absolutely fine. Our question today is about pets, actually. So perfect.
So we're gonna create 150 jobs that we're already underway with. We're expecting the first launch next year and building launches as we go. So the next 5 years, you'll see up to about 8 launches a year with Virgin Orbit, and then adding new launch partners to that in the future.
Flippin' heck. Growing quick. I believe you're going to create jobs as well, 150. What will be available?
Everything from aircraft maintenance, spacecraft operations, some marketing roles, fueling. There's so many different ones, and that's the beauty of this project. It's not just about being a astrophysicist. It's across lots of different things.
Flipping it. I mean, that's a large amount of different skill sets there. Absolutely incredible to see see it utilised down here, whether it's from Cornwall, people coming down just to see that kind of thing happening so locally. It's something that a lot of people wouldn't ever even think of or dream of. There's also, I believe, educational links to colleges and unis in the Southwest. What sort of courses will they be providing?
So we have really great links with Trio Penwith College at the minute, who are just launching their Space Institute. So that will obviously help us grow the skills base here in Cornwall. We also have great relationship with University of Exeter, providing us a lot more of the satellite data and application side, but also in the future looking at R&D of ways to bring down the carbon impact of launches itself. So some really amazing relationships already growing, and many more to come with places like Camborne School of Mines, looking at how do you potentially mine an asteroid in the future. So there's lots of different conversations going on that you'll probably start to hear more and more out as we start to announce things over the coming months.
Amazing stuff. I went to a college myself for both college and uni, and then I went out to Plymouth after. But it's lovely to hear that's coming to somewhere so local, absolutely, just pretty much on my doorstep. Is there any last words you'd like to say? That sounds really dark, doesn't it? Is there any final words you'd like to say to everyone out there watching Chaos TV today?
No, just, we're so excited to bring Cornwall into space, and we really just want over the next year, the countdown to launch, to just get as many people in Cornwall involved with it, in no matter what way. We're a small team. We're all local. We absolutely are passionate about this project and what it will do for Cornwall. So please just get in touch and follow us on social media, and we'll see you all at the launch event next year.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Melissa. Please come back again soon. Let us know how it's going. It'd be lovely to get the inside scoop on a few things going on.
Oh, definitely. Thanks so much for having me.
Lovely job. Thank you, Melissa. There we go. Thanks for joining on Chaos TV today. That was Melissa Thorpe, head of Spaceport Cornwall. What a job role. Absolutely amazing. The website, if you wish to get in touch with the Spaceport, is spaceportcornwall.com. So, from space to a little bit closer to home with some music. Let's go to Stack It Up, Liam Payne, and a Boogie with the Hoodie. What is this song? I'm getting some shaking of heads from the office, and then Word Up cameo. I've got to have a few words with some people. Be right back.